All right, this government shutdown is starting to hit home here across Metro Atlanta. We got federal workers without pay, got services on hold, and now a new pitch from President Trump. He's calling for a one-time payment or one-time payments to taxpayers funded by tariff revenues. President Trump's plan would send every American a one-time check funded by new tariffs between $1,000 and $2,000. Analysts say the shutdown is costing the U.S. economy roughly $12 billion per week, with ripple effects across travel, retail, and the housing market. And it's hitting while recent surveys show nearly 2/3 of households have little financial cushion to play with here. Helping us to sort this all out and what it means for your wallet, we're joined by Atlanta's financial advisor and friend of the show, Andrew Poulos. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Leslie, good morning to you.
All right, talk to us. How realistic is this plan for stimulus payments to be funded by tariffs?
Look, President Trump throws a lot of stuff out there, right? You sit on social media, you'll see a lot of things going around. Now, is this realistic? Possibly. They might just pull this off. I'm concerned if they do. We can just go back to just a few years ago during COVID and all the stimulus money that was thrown out. This would be no different, in my opinion, than the stimulus that we had 4 years ago. If we all start getting $1,000, $2,000 checks, what happens to inflation again, and what kind of impact are we going to see? So while I know that no one's going to turn down a $2,000 check from the government, the question is, what will the aftermath look like in the months or the years following?
Yeah, I'm sure if it came in, you wouldn't just throw that aside, right?
No.
Do you have any sort of time frame on it when it could happen? Could it happen anytime soon?
I'd probably say that, in the coming months, I think probably likely sometime in 2026, if it were to happen, we'll go into midterms. Every administration and both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, are looking to get votes as we get, deeper into 2026. So if it happens, I would expect probably sometime next year. I think the concern bigger for me right now is the government shutdown and how long that's going to last, right? As you mentioned, it's having about a $12 billion impact per week. A lot of predictions are showing now that we might go somewhere around 27 to 32 days with the government shutdown, which means it takes us into the end of October, beginning of November. And let's not forget that we're only less than 100 days away from the beginning of starting of tax season. Yeah. That's going to impact every American out there when we get into tax season, and the IRS is massively behind the eight ball with tax season and being able to issue refunds and process returns.
Yeah. Now, if Americans did receive this payment, how much of a boost would it realistically be to the economy, especially during the shutdown?
Look, we might see a little bit of a boost, right? You got to figure if it's 1,000 or 2,000, it's probably $200 billion. So we might see a little bit of a short-term boost, basically. But again, I'm more concerned about where do we, go with inflation. We have sort of kind of tamed down inflation from where it was, obviously at the peak of COVID. But we're still seeing impacts of inflation even today. Grocery store, insurance prices, high rents. So the effects are still lingering and they're still there. So if we reignite to some extent the economy with $2,000 checks going out to every taxpayer out there, what will happen in a year from now, right? Especially as interest rates come down further in 2026, because make no mistake, President Trump has said that he wants rate cuts to be super low. He's going to appoint someone as a new Fed chairman who's going to appease him and cut those rates. And what will happen when we reignite the economy and that inflation, probably as we go into 26, 27, 28.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to take that person out and I'll put you in. Say you are advising the White House right now. What kind of aid or policy move would actually help families the most during the shutdown? What would you say?
I think, look, lower interest rates obviously would go a long way, right? You're talking about rates are going to impact those who are trying to buy a home, those who have existing homes with equity who can refinance for a lower rate and get their payments down, which has a longer term impact on the economy. Small businesses who need to borrow, people with debt, people getting loans. So I would be more of an advocate of saying, hey, let's get rates down where everyone benefits versus a long term versus having some short term impact of, you get $1,000, I get $1,000, we go to the grocery store, in 2 weeks the money's all gone.
Yeah. All right, Andrew, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate the insight.